Hare Krishna, welcome to our Sunday class. Today is May 8th, 2022, actually. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we have some devotees visiting from Argentina. And today we are going to begin with let's see, first canto, chapter 16, text 13, which is actually 13, three verses together. So this Sanskrit is Tatra Tatra Upashinvanat Sapurve Shang Mahatmanam Pragiya Manam Cha Jashat Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam Atmanam Cha Paritranam Aswatam Noastratejasa Sneham cha vrishni parthanam tesham bhaktin cha keshare tebya paramasantushta ujjambita lochanaha mahadhanani vasangsi dado haran mahamanah. Very nice. So this verse begins, or actually verse 13 begins, Tatra Tatra. So in Sanskrit, when you repeat words like here or there or when, those kinds of words, if you repeat them, it's like in English ever, whenever. Yada, yada, hi dharmasya. So whenever. And then, so here we have tatra. Tatra means there, allí, Spanish. So tatra, tatra means wherever. Donde sea. Tatra, tatra, wherever. So wherever he was going, remember in the previous verse, Parikshit Maharaj is going to tour his kingdom. So he's going to and keep everything in order, conquering people who were not behaving properly or rogue kingdoms. So then Tatra Tatra, so he was traveling. So wherever he went, Upa Shinvana. Shinvana means hearing. Escuchando. Shinvana means hearing. So Upa Shinvana means sort of overhearing, like when he would actually personally listen to people. Upa Shinvana. Swapurveshang Mahatmanang Pragiyamanang Cha Jashat. So he was listening to Yashat, the glories of Swapurvesham, of his own ancestors or his own forefathers, his own family. Swa. Purva means before, so the people that came before, but Swa, his own people, his own family from previous generations, who were Mahatmanam, who were great souls. So of his own family members, of his own people, ancestors who were great souls, he was hearing Jashat Pragiyamanam, the glories of those people, the Pandavas and so on. He was hearing their glories, Pragiyamanam, being sung, being recited. So people weren't just like, "Oh, Parikshit, yeah, your father was a great guy." It was a little more formal than that. It was Giyamana means being sung, like Gita. And so there were brahmanas and even ordinary people. They were very intelligent. They were speaking very beautifully. And they were speaking when they saw him. I mean, it's natural. For example, if you see, let's say, you know, some people, your friends, and then they pass away, and then you meet their children. So naturally say, yes, I knew your parents and they were wonderful people. And so, so they were So naturally, I mean, imagine Krishna, the Pandavas, Abhimanyu, there were still people alive who had known them, or there were people that heard about them from their parents that heard about them, and so it was still a very powerful presence in the world that Krishna had come, that the Pandavas had come, and their associates. And so everywhere Parikshit went, people were saying, "I knew your family," or "I once saw Krishna," or "Your grandparents saved me," or "My parents told me about your family." And so this is what's going on. Actually, it's a very personal, moving thing. Tatra tatropa swapurve shang mahatmanam pragiyamanam chajashak. And so he's hearing these glories, which are specifically Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam. Suchaka means pointing out, señalando. So Suchaka means that these glories were particularly indicating or pointing out the greatness of Krishna. Because the Pandavas are great because they're personal associates of Krishna. This was the glory of the family, that this family, they were all intimately connected with Krishna. This was the glory of the family. Not only were they pure devotees of Krishna, but Arjuna, who was Parikshit's grandfather, married Krishna's sister, Subhadra. So there was this very intimate connection between the families. And so by glorifying Parikshit's family, naturally, the glories of Krishna come out. And the word glory here is Mahatmya, which of course is from the word Mahatma, Mahatma, great soul. And so in that sense, the word Mahatmya, which is a derivative word, means sort of the deeds, the character, and the activities of great souls. So then it means like the glories. And Prabhupada here translates it in the word for word as glorious acts. So that's the first verse. And then Atmanam cha paritranam. And he also heard them talking about himself. They were talking about him. Hablaban de él mismo. Atmanam cha paritranam. And this paritratam, how he was saved. Trata means like delivered or saved. And paritrata means he was completely saved. Atmanam, himself, how he was saved. Ashwatam no astratejasa, from the power of the weapon of Ashwatthama. Ashwatam no astratejasa. There are two words in Sanskrit that mean weapons. Astra is a weapon that you throw, and Shastra, not Shastra. Shastra is scripture. Shastra means a weapon that cuts, a cutting weapon, and Astra is a weapon you throw. So, Snehang cha Brishni Parthanam, and he also was hearing about Sneham, the affection, cariño, between the Vrishnis and the Parthas, between the Yadu dynasty and the Parthas, the sons of Pandu. Parthanam, of course, Partha means the sons of Pritha, and Pandava means the sons of Pandus. They have all these names. So this great friendship, this affection, this love between the Yadu dynasty and the Pandavas. He also heard about that. Tesham bhaktin cha keshave, and he heard about, talking about the Vrishnis and the Parthas, the Pandavas. He heard about their devotion to Keshava, to Krishna. They were all devoted to Krishna. And Tebya Paramasantushta. So from hearing all these things, Parikshit was supremely satisfied. Supremely satisfied. Paramasantushta. Prit Ujjambita Lochana. And his eyes open wide with love, because by hearing all these things, he was feeling so much love that his eyes opened wide.
Nice.
He was like, because he was hearing it, and obviously he was hearing things he'd never heard before. He was hearing things that he didn't know about because, wow, I didn't know my father did that, or I didn't know my grandfathers did that, or I didn't know my grandmother did that. And so, because obviously Krishna and the Pandavas, they did so many things. They're in this world for a long time. And so Parikshit was not only happy to hear that the people, everywhere he went, people were glorifying his family, but he was hearing things he'd never heard before. So hearing all these things, I'll give you an example. When I, in 1978, when I first became an ISKCON guru, and, it was 79. It was 1 year after I began this career. It was 1979. And I was always good friends with Giriraj-Swami, so I stayed in Juhu for about over a month, 5 or 6 weeks. And it was a very happy time. And so everywhere I went, everyone I met told stories about Prabhupada. And not just the devotees, but just the life members, the congregation, were these very respectable Indians, very respectable, educated Indians. So everyone I talked to, they had so many stories about Prabhupada that I'd never heard. So that's inevitable that as Parikshit was traveling, he was hearing stories about Krishna and the Pandavas that he'd never heard before. So Tebyak Paramaksan, so from hearing all this and from these people, he was supremely satisfied, his eyes open wide with love, and he reciprocates. Mahadhanani vasangsi dado haran mahamana. So Parikshit is mahamana. He has a great mind. He has a great mind, which in Sanskrit also means very generous, charitable. And so he gave, the do means he gave, haran, necklaces, and all kinds of great riches. Mahadhanani, dhana means wealth or treasure, and mahadhanani in the plural, he gave great treasures, he gave great wealth to these people. So he's feeling all this love, and he's just very generously giving people all kinds of wealth. So it's a very beautiful moment in history. The next verse is Saratya Parashada Sevana Sakya Dodya Virasananu Gamana Stavana Pranaman Snigdeshu Pandushu Jagat Pranating Chavishnor. Bhaktin Karoti Nripatis Sharanara Vinde. So, to sort of tell you how this sentence is organized grammatically, the subject of the sentence is Nirpatis, the king, literally the lord of the people, Nirpati. So the king, Karoti, literally in Sanskrit, he did bhakti. He did bhakti, which means that he devoted himself, or he felt devotion. In English, you would say that, or in Spanish, sintió devoción. But in Sanskrit, you make devotion, or you do devotion. It's an active thing. Devotion. It's interesting because Prabhupada translates it devotional service. And so here in Sanskrit, we can see that bhakti is not just an emotion. He didn't just make an emotion, but he did bhakti, which means he acted in devotion. So he cultivated this devotion, or felt this devotion, Charanara Vinde, at the lotus feet, Vishnur, of Vishnu, and because Vishnu, Snigdeshu Pandushu, in the very affectionate sons of Pandu and the loving sons of Pandu, he heard how Krishna acted as Saratya, as a chariot driver, Parashada, as a member of their assembly, where he became the leader of their government assembly, like their Congress. Sevana, he did other services, Sakya, friendship, Dotya, messenger service. He would deliver messages. And Virasana is sort of a funny word in Sanskrit. Virasana literally means the hero's seat. And it's sort of it sounds very glorious, but it actually means the watchman, the person who stays awake at night to make sure, no enemies are coming or no wild animals. So it's just the person. How do you say in Spanish, the watchman? Anyway, it's the person. What do they say in India today? They say the chokidar. But what? Serena. Yes, someone has to stay awake to guard. And so Krishna would actually do that. The Pandavas would sleep and Krishna would stay awake to guard them. So that's Virasana, Anugamana, following them. Like if they had a plan, sometimes they would follow Krishna's plan, and sometimes he would follow their plan. Stavana, he would praise them, pranaman, even bow to them, because Krishna would bow to the two older Pandavas, Yudhishthira and Bhima, because they were older than him, and he would embrace Arjuna because they were the same age, and he would accept obeisances from Nakul and Sahadev because they were younger. So Jagat Pranatim, which literally means, how does Prabhupada translates this? Krishna, who is Jagat Pranatim, the whole world, the universe bows to Krishna. The universe bows to Krishna, and yet he was offering all these services to the Pandavas. So Parikshit is amazed at how kind Krishna is to his devotees. I'll read one more. And then next Sunday, we're going to have our festival for Lord Nrsingadev, so that'll be a different schedule. So please watch for that. So Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Purve Shang Riting Anvaham Nati Dure Kilas Charyam Jadasi Tanibodame. So as Parikshit was going on in that way, it's kind of what it means in Sanskrit. He was going on, proceeding as Parikshit was going on in this way, Anvaham, and following his, actually, as he was following in this way, the Vritti. It's a poetic use of words because Vartamanasya and then Vritti made from the same root. So I'm trying to, how would you say it in English so that you sort of get that poetic repetition of the same word? So as he was thus acting according to the actions of his forefathers, as he was acting according to the actions, and they were following them, doing what they did, and touring his kingdom, and he was doing this anvaham daily, diariamente. Nati dure, which means not too far away. Ati means too much. Demasiado. So, and dura is distance. Like, for example, the way they say television in Hindi is dura darshana, which means seeing at a distance, long distance. So na ati dure, not too far away. Kila, indeed, ascharyam, something amazing took place. So Jadasi, what happened? Tad, that, Niboda, learn, may from me. So now hear from me, learn from me about something amazing which happened then, not too far away. And so next week, actually not next week, but we'll eventually get to this, and we will find out what is this amazing thing that Yudhishthira saw. So we have questions now. We have a question here. Let's see. You have a question?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So you say that Krishna, he did reverence to the seniors and embrace and so on and so forth. And in the devotee's life, I heard the same statement with devotees who are senior to you, equal to you, and lower to you. But I don't know if that's a misplaced.
Okay, the question is, should we follow that example where we accept obeisances from those who are junior to us or whatever, and then embrace those who are sort of equals and bow to those who are superiors? That is the etiquette.
Well, that was related to age. In our case, it's related to times of being a devotee.
I was saying, is it related to age or the amount of time you've been in? Well, they were all devotees, so it wasn't. So all of them were devotees from the day they were born, so it was not an issue.
But for us.
For us, we do what's appropriate in the culture. Obviously, you can't just. I mean, you can't go visit your family and bow to them or expect. So we have to be practical. Basically, I think the way it's done now is practical. Don't think it's really a problem. So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, bowing in the Western world is kind of amazing for most people. Let's see. You don't see any question. Thank you all. Oh, here's a question. Jagat Palana never fails. If a Ukrainian devotee is being drafted to fight the Russians and is killed, will he go to Krishna Loka? He'll go to Krishna Loka if he died as a pure devotee. If somehow or other he was a pure devotee and Krishna ordered him to fight the Russians and he died in pure Krishna consciousness, then yes. So whoever a person is, or whatever situation they're in, we go to Krishna Loka if we are in pure Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, Krishna puts us in the best place for us according to our spiritual advancement. Oh, today is Mother's Day. I forgot to mention that. Well, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And I guess what I mean to say is those who are actually like biologically mothers. I mean, because if we read the Vedas, every girl or lady is not actually technically called mother. If you read the Vedas and the Bhagavatam and everything. So, but to those who actually are mothers, happy Mother's Day. So, thank you all for your comments. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else. Unless I missed something. I don't see any other questions. So, oops. Okay, I knew it. As soon as I say there's no more questions, this somehow that triggers a response where it turns out there are more questions. So it always happens that way. So this love for Krishna in its perfection is described as being present, or at least the potential of love, when Krishna accepts us. We all have love of Krishna within us, despite some nonsense that some people are quote unquote preaching. Lord Chaitanya said, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema is eternally established. It's not sadhya kavunai. It's not sadhya. It's not, because sadhya, of course, the same word as sadhana. Sadhana means practice, and sadhya means something that you achieve by practice. And so Shavanadi Sudha Chite Korye Udai, by practicing bhakti yoga, which begins with Shavanam, hearing, we awaken something that's already there. So when Lord Chaitanya says that Krishna Prema is Nitya Siddha, it's eternally already existing, and it's not something that you create. Some people can't understand these simple words. And so we awaken it. When you awaken and you see your normal, or you experience your normal consciousness is not created. This simple example of awakening, or Korye Udai, it's like the sun rising. The sun is always in the sky. So also, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, there are two types of things. There are things which are eternal and never never don't exist, and there are things that are material and always begin and end. And so therefore, if we have a spiritual body which didn't exist before, then there would be something that didn't exist and then begins to exist, which according to the Bhagavad Gita is impossible. So someone could say, I can just hear someone saying that, well, no, it's like in some closet somewhere in the spiritual world, or they have some warehouse. Almasen. They have some warehouse in Krishna Loka where they have, all these like millions and millions of spiritual bodies. As people come in, they, sort of like an Amazon warehouse. And so when we reject this simple statement of Lord Chaitanya, one ends up speaking nonsense. Because if I exist now, but my spiritual body is in a Krishna Loka warehouse, then that means I'm not my body. I'm not even my spiritual body, which is a disaster. How can I not be my spiritual body? It's not that there's a soul, that you are the soul that's in the heart of the spiritual body. I mean, that's ridiculous. But if my spiritual body, if it doesn't exist now, or it's in a warehouse somewhere, that means that I exist now, but without my spiritual body, because it hasn't manifested yet to me, which means that how could I be the spiritual body if I exist now? So this idea that we never were with, we never had bhakti before, it's just, it's philosophically, it's actually quite silly. And, but nothing is too silly in this world to attract some people, which, if you live long enough, you definitely see that. So therefore, I prefer to exercise the spiritual power called common sense, and to accept Prabhupada's very clear teaching that we go back to home, back to Godhead. We are all originally Krishna conscious entities, which perfectly agrees with Lord Chaitanya's own statement. So that little comment there is especially for the mothers today. Let's see, there's another question. Leelakar is wondering, where's Leelakar's question? But there it is. Was Maya, what was Maya? Oh, in the beginning, it was self-evident what was Maya or not, like black or white. As one progresses, how can we determine and find the proper, healthy line that can keep us always safe? There's no substitute for Krishna consciousness. You can't beat it. It's Krishna consciousness. And if someone feels they're not Krishna conscious, then they should associate with people that are Krishna conscious and just take their advice seriously. There are many Krishna conscious people in this world because of Prabhupada's great efforts in the Panchatattva. And so if you're not sure what is Krishna conscious, then ask someone who is Krishna conscious. I chant every day, offer food to Krishna. Krishna protects me, but sometimes I curse Krishna. Well, that's honest. Where does that come from? The mode of ignorance. So yeah, my suggestion, don't curse Krishna. It's not a great idea. It's better to serve Krishna and glorify Krishna. So, there's good old Jennifer. Yes, happy Mother's Day. And so thank you all. Thank you all for listening. And again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And next Sunday, we'll have our festival for Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nrsimha's appearance day. And also, it's, I guess, the 50-year anniversary of my taking sannyas, which was actually quite amazing. I was 23 years old. Of course, I had an amazing amount of life experience. Amazing because it was so little. But but somehow Krishna protected me. But I'll talk more about that on Sunday. So thank you all very much. I wish you all happy day, happy week, and hope we'll be together next Sunday. Hare Krishna.